friends, Kim from stampingandperfection.com. Thank you for joining me today. I'm making a traveler's notebook layout. I'm participating in a layout a day challenge with Scrap Happy for February, and I'm putting all my layouts in this traveler's notebook. And mostly I've been just, I'm new to traveler's notebooks, but yesterday I created this layout using a sketch that I found on Pinterest. So I decided that I wanted to become more of an expert at layouts on traveler's notebooks. Mostly I've been just sticking things down like I did when I was 5 and scrapbooking when I was in kindergarten. And I really want to I want to use design elements as I create my pages, because I want to look back at these and love the pages. So I decided that for a while I want to actually use sketches. So I found this great site. It's actually 2 websites that do this challenge, and it's called TN Time with Lisa and Lori. This is sketch number 25, which is the current sketch. This means there are 24 sketches left on their websites for me to check out. So I'll put the links for this below, but this is the sketch I'm going to use today to create my layout. And I really love this sketch. Like, I already feel like this is going to look way more cohesive. So I'm going to do a little something of my own, and I'm going to use this TLC Designs See You in the Center die. This is an interactive die, and I have a whole video on how to create this. This is my practice piece, the first time I ever made one, and that little dial piece allows 2 things to move together and apart. I'm going to use part of this. I love the frame set on this. There's so many dies in this set, but I'm going to use the largest frame, and I'm going to die cut a piece of this digital paper that is called Sea Scenes. It's all pre-colored. Then there's a Seahorse Sam digital stamp set I got in black and white, and I colored in some of the images and cut them with my brother's Scan and Cut. You can actually get pre-colored images, and I'm essentially going to use those as my own embellishments, because you can see that this sketch calls for some embellishment in some places. So I'm going to only use a couple pieces of this interactive thing. I'm going to kind of do my own thing here. I created a dial piece, so I cut that out, and I want to create a slider opening. So I'm going to take the 2 arm pieces, and I'm going to cut one out and then the other, and I'm going to create a channel for a seahorse to slide across, and I'm going to use that dial piece to help slide it across. So I'm going to do all my die cutting. Now the sketch calls for a piece of paper for the right hand side of that right hand page. So I pulled some 49th and Market paper out of my stash. It's got a name like Seaside something, and it's just really pretty. So I'm going to add some double-sided sticky tape and attach that to the paper. Now both sides of that paper were pretty, but I decided that I wanted this brown side to show because it had a mixed media feel with the script along the top, and I really liked it. So I used the other half of the paper to just cut a couple of rectangles, and I distressed them with my scissors, and I'm just again going to add some double-sided tape, and I put them together in a angled fashion, and I used a little staple with my Tim Holtz tiny attacher. And I'm just going to add this picture. That's a bonnet head shark that we saw off our dock, and you can see I'm actually making a page documenting the sea creatures we've seen off our dock so far in the last couple months, and this little bonnet head shark is one of those things. I got a nice picture of him. So I attached him with foam and a little tape runner at the bottom, and I was thinking about using up some of these white letters. I want it to say sea creatures, and you can see they have a title and a subtitle, so I thought I would put sea across the top and creatures along the side. So I have these nice foam metallic gold letters. I'm going to use these along the top for sea, and then I'll put the creatures along the side with some American Crafts. These are sort of like foil almost letters, and I really like them. These were very inexpensive, and you get a lot of each letter in the package, so that was really nice. So I'm going to fuss around with these and put those down along the side, and I'll do that with tweezers because that will make it much easier to lift these and put them in place. So I'm just going to put the word creatures here. So now I'm also going to add this little shell that I colored, and I love this. It's a little shell with a couple little rocks. Again, I'm going to add a little piece of foam and some tape runner, and I'm going to put that right on the bottom of that picture because that's sort of what the sketch calls for. So now I'm going to move on. I still need my journaling boxes and another one of those little embellishments that I created, but I'm going to move on to the other page. So I'm going to take this piece that I die cut, and you can see that channel I created, and I'm not going to use that whole piece because you can see the sketch only calls for part of the circle. So I'm just going to use part of this, and I'll end up only using part of that channel. So I've got this dial piece, and I did die cut 2 of those and put them together. So I'm going to put that behind the channel and about where I want that dial piece to go. And then I'm going to take some little foam squares that fit in that channel, and I'm going to just basically cover that with foam right on the dial. So I'm attaching those to the dial, and I'm making sure my foam fits in that channel. So I'm removing the other side of the adhesive, and now I'm going to stick that little seahorse on. And now you can see he moves back and forth. Now to make this work, I need to put this on foam tape. And you want to be careful that you don't cover up where that dial is going to be. And since I'm not using the whole thing, I'm just going to put a piece of foam along the edge of where I want that to stop. So the foam is going to go along the right and left side of that dial, and it's going to go along the top of the dial, but not the bottom, because I don't want to hinder the movement of that dial. So this will give me a nice little interactive piece on my in my traveler's notebook, and I think that this is pretty fun. So already I can see, well, the foam is going to show, so I need to fix that, and the paper below is going to show, so I need to fix that, but it works pretty nicely. So I haven't still saved that piece that I cut out when I created that, so I'm going to put one side of it on top of that foam, and then eventually I will put the second part of that. I'm going to just put some tape runner on the back of that, which I always have trouble finding. It's right next to my hand, but I don't see it. And I'm just going to tuck that in underneath that little seahorse. And then I'll slide the seahorse to the side and make sure I cover up the part that's showing on the other side of him as well. So I could have tucked it all in as one piece, but I want to get that all covered up so you don't see that white paper behind. So I've got him working. Now I've got this little TLC Designs action stamp set, and it's got things like slide, lift, rotate. I'm going to put slide on here because this is meant to slide. And of course, I make a huge mess at this point, but a handy rag lets me clean up, and I stamp the word slide on there. And now anybody looking at this book in the future can see that if they move that seahorse will move. So I just trimmed off the edge of that, and I can just chuck those things. So now I want to add that little element along the bottom. And on the sketch, it calls for that piece to be actually covering the circle. I'm going to put this below, and I decided that I would use some washi tape. Today's Layout a Day challenge for a technique said to use some metallic elements. So I'm pulling out my gold foil washi tape, and I'm adding a piece of that, and then I have this really thin gold metallic washi tape that has little white arrows on it. So I'm just putting a piece of that down and leaving a little space between them. Then I'm going to add the little elements that the little embellishment element that they have pictured in the sketch. And here you can see my finished page. So I've added all of the little pieces, and I added the coral piece to the little element. I've just got it below instead of above. I've got my slider element there with the little seahorse, and that's just a digital stamp set and a digital set of papers. So simple. And I put the year in. I did put 2021 because basically this is a listing of the things we've seen so far in the last few months right off our dock. Super exciting. We saw a little seahorse right off our dock, and that little shark and a water snake, which I was not excited about. But you can see I've also added some blue stickles, glitter stickles. I used that stamp set, the action stamp set, and from TLC Designs, and the See You in the Center die to create my element. And I just added a few label stickers for my journaling, and then I've got all my embellishments popped up on some foam. So I feel like there's a lot on this page, and I love that the sketch made me feel like I was putting elements in visual triangles. Like you can see the blue stickles that I used here. I put those, and I just smeared it, but no worries. Like that had been drying for a couple hours, believe it or not. So I just peeled it off, and I'm just going to put a dot of that right over the top, and I won't touch it again until tomorrow. But you can see I've got 3 sets of those, and they're sort of in that visual triangle. I've got the gold pieces in a diagonal opposite each other, and then my embellishments are also forming a visual triangle, and I quite like that. So I think that I feel like I've used design elements by laying out my page. So I feel like using sketches to get started while I'm still getting the hang of using Traveler's notebooks is a pretty good idea. So I will be checking out things online for that. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Have a wonderful day, folks.